Sure. 246. Probably should set a timer. Might be a good idea. But, well, let's look at what we have. See, I feel like we're getting close to actually making a game. What I mean to say is designing levels, stages, whatever you want to call them. So I've got a bounce pad. I'm not a huge fan of that yet. The solid ground elements that I think are good ideas is a conveyor and the teleport pad. We have a pressure plate that allows us to turn things on and off. And this thing called a rotate pad. Let's look at that again. Send signal to the vector. So, Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of all of that stuff on the ground. And let's start with... What's going on here? Oh. Let's start with our player in a little bit of a tunnel thing. And to break out so we put the, let's move the player over here, and then we'll lay down a teleport pad here. And pull in there. Then we'll connect the two. Go to 2, 8, and 7, 5, and then let's do. Gonna do some sort of field to go around. I'm not sure how to say your name. How's it going? Is it Playrom? Playroom? Sorry about that. Insulting a guest. Alright, and we'll make you a little bit wider. There we go. So, now we should be able to teleport over. Yep, and there we are. And maybe, I mean, How are you doing? Just setting up. I'm doing a little babysitting on my. I stream on YouTube as well, so I have to set some stuff up to. There we go. All right. Okay. Man, this is tough. mean, it could just make it a dead end. So if we go like this, where it's like very clear where you have to go. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm really I'm not even coding right now. I'm not even thinking about programming a dang thing. I'm trying to think of where do I get the game? Where's the game here? I've got some things, I've got behaviors and stuff that are all game like. Okay. Well, I think, I mean, we've got this solid thing with the conveyor. I think that's solid. There is a bug with this, with player speed not being modified when you're going in the direction of the conveyor. So, I could work on that right now. So like, let me close and reopen the scene, and we'll throw the conveyor down like this. Okay, so right now it doesn't modify. Well, that's just incorrect. The direction is wrong. Because this certainly is not. That's correct. So that's the correct modification of player movement. Let's fix a bug. May as well get this stuff working solid. Mod direction. Okay. So that is the correct direction to modify our direction. So I like the way this feels because it's you if you try to move against this like on the controller, you have to keep pressing forward the direction of the conveyor. Otherwise, it pushes you back. You lose your momentum. So I like that really feels like how you'd expect it to. So our problem is when our player direction is going the same direction as mod direction, our momentum should be the sum of not only the mod direction speed, but okay, so opposing direction is not part of this scenario. Opposite magnitude. Mayhaps. Yes. Opposite magnitude. How is this being determined? Mod direction magnitude. So that's correct. So our modification of mod direction magnitude here. Mod direction magnitude. Move and collide mod direction magnitude. Plus. So this is if we're not going opposite. And we're going to do not the player input, but what we would traditionally do, move last direction, which looks like direction with speed. Looks like that. So if we do this, we should get something approximating a doubling or whatever of our speed if we're going in the same direction. But see, okay, so here's part of the problem. That's correct. But if I let go, why if I let go, why is our last direction being changed? Last direction equals mod direction. I don't think we want to do this. So yeah, the movement stuff on this is bad. And I'm beginning to think that the way that this is being handled is not correct. I've got a lot of logic going on here. That I don't think needs to be here. All we need to do is modify the player direction. Modify the player... It's not last direction. We simply need to... Let's do this. Yeah. So. Mod direction magnitude. Could we just go... Well, but to break everything. It's 0, 0 for most cases. Player input times speed plus mod direction magnitude. Is this possible? There's almost no need for this. So let's clean that up. Make it look like this. And we'll do my direction magnitude plus all right, let's just see what happens here. Okay, so that's pretty much, yeah. I'm just cleaning up some stuff here. I've just decided to, I don't know, these last 2 days I've decided to do a lot of code cleanup. I just want to make sure I don't have any rot. just because I'm going to be revisiting so much old code. I don't think any of this is used anymore. Man, none of this. I mean, that means these could probably be both removed, and I should be able to fix and have the exact same behavior with a lot less code. Ugh. How you doing, man? Dominic? Weather's starting to get hot here. You notice a little bit of hum in the background. Just a faint hum of the AC running. It's louder for me than it is for you. I've got these cool coasters. I don't know where my Wipeout one went, but these they look like old school PlayStation discs, but they're just drink coasters. Those are cool. I want to say that might have been like the last thing I bought before the whole pandemic. I felt like I was spoiling myself. I am done with this whole thing, by the way. If this birthday on Saturday. She's turning 2. Nice. Congratulations. Man, that's 2's a big one. Good time of year to have a birthday. Perfect time of year to have a birthday. Perfect time of year. Yeah, my son's probably going to be here a little bit before August, maybe early August. So right peak hot time. I feel bad for my wife. But I got our house. Our house situation is looking pretty good for summertime. I moved the ACs around last year and got them all set up so that they're in much better. They're all window AC units. The house is like from the 70s. It's a mobile unit, but it's really big. It's really nice. It's been taken care of. Mid-July. Congratulations. So that's news then, right? Because you last I remember there was not that there wasn't any plans, but that I don't think that was I didn't know that. That's cool. Yep. Those kids, man. I do my little one, I really wonder about, I don't know, man. I mean, she's doing so good with the homeschooling thing, and I'm torn, like, when she gets to be old enough to go into a quote-unquote regular school. I mean, I worry about that stuff. I was going to look something up. Oh, that's right. Ripcord. Get up on there. Guess I should pop on there. I have that Discord thing in there, and I always forget to go into it. Live stream. Join live stream. I kind of think, I don't know. I was thinking about doing some more videos on YouTube for game dev stuff with Godot and streaming development of those videos, which might be really annoying and weird for people. But I think sometimes I might need to mix it up a little bit so I can keep my motivation, max motivation. You know, so I've got these, I've got, yeah. No, I mean, my concern is that, yeah, I don't mean to, like, my... Yeah. I just want her to have the best possible start, and it's the best way I can do it. And I just know, based on the statistics, that if I have her ahead of where, quote unquote, ahead of where other kids are in the same age range, when I put her into a public school, in 2 years she'll be exactly where they are in that age category. It's just what happens. And so it's like, I don't know what to do, because she'll be pretty young, and I don't know. I don't know what to do. Because I'm like, well, okay, well, then do I do ages 6 to 10 or whatever it is? Yeah. But it's not like I'm not in a position to... Oh, I get that. But frankly, I kind of wanted them to avoid the social interactions they get in school anyways. It's funny because what normal is dictated by having kids all in the same building and room together. I'm not attacking anyone's choices. But this whole socialization thing argument about kids going to school to socialize. Well, then what's school for? Like, I get it, and I understand the importance of it and stuff, and being normal, but I also don't think that I think that's a lot of BS. Because I think there's a lot of people that you meet in school that were homeschooled that you would never even know that. And then there's just, there's off kids in public school that have been in public school their whole time. There's a kid in... I remember in middle school, or not even middle school, but, like second through fifth, I think that's for a specific segment, specifically the groups of parents that do it for religious reasons. I think that's when you experience that. But I think that for the most part, kids that are... because we go out, we go to the playground and everything's totally fine. The funny thing is she gets bullied and stuff far more by kids that, I don't know. She's so nice. She goes to the playground. She introduces herself. If that's weird and unusual for a 4-year-old, so be it. She tries to talk to these kids. They just give her the cold shoulder. They ignore her. And... I don't know. But yeah, but I do, like, in my experience, the homeschooled kids that do it for religious reasons, that's the ones that are not, something's off there. But she's getting plenty of socialization. And she's talking to, like, the thing is it's like, it's not like I'm locking her in a room and she's doing stuff on her own or whatever. It's like I'm totally involved in her learning, it's like one-on-one. But she's 4. She knows her phonics, every phonetic sound for a letter, all double letter sounds. We're working on sums right now. By the time she's in kindergarten age, we should be doing, I don't know. At the rate I'm going, supposedly, she'll be doing multiplication and division, by the time she's 6. So, I'm gonna keep at it and see. But I don't want to sacrifice her being quote unquote normal, and no, I understand that. Everyone, dude, when you say you're homeschooling a kid, that's all anyone ever fucking says. And I'm not mad at you, but it's just so annoying to hear that constantly. And it's funny. It's funny because I've talked to a lot of teachers, and it's fascinating to hear their arguments because they always invariably blame the parent for everything. This is the part of the problem that I have with the public education system, beyond the fact that it's a factory model for learning, and makes the assumption that every kid at every level of age should be learning the exact same thing as every other kid, which makes no sense. But that's how the whole thing is structured, for the ease of the teacher, not for the ease of the student. It's all for the adults. It's all for the adults. Like, for them to be able to just put them on the conveyor belt and get them through school. But yes, everyone says that when you say you're homeschooling your kid. And it's fascinating. Yeah. It's just interesting because, like, I'm not mad at you. It's just that I hear it so much. It just gets really frustrating. But, like, it's really interesting to have spent so much time studying how to teach my kid and, like, this approach that I'm using. And then, I don't know. It's just really interesting. Because I can't get that education for her by putting her in a public school. It's impossible. And that's where I'm torn. Because, like, in a couple of years, I'm going to have to figure it out. But so, like, for instance, I have kids that are going to preschool and kindergarten come and play with my kid. And we've got all of her learning materials out. Part of the house is literally a classroom. And these kids come in, and part of what I'm teaching my kid, as far as all this stuff is concerned, is, like, to respect her environment. That's part of the teaching of the Montessori. And so it's respect of environment, right? And her friends come in and they tear everything up. And they're older or the same age as her. And I know that every kid is different, but they come through like a tornado and just destroy everything. And she's already got, like, as far as socialization is concerned, you know, she goes in, she's totally respectful, all of these things. But these kids are being socialized in a public school, and they're just like fucking wrecking balls. And I don't know, dude. I think the socialization argument is weak. I think that it's a very particular set of kids that people always go, oh, they're homeschooled. But as far as, like, whether or not a kid is normal or not makes for, oh, they went to a public school. Public schools are relatively new in our history. And it's interesting because, like, I don't know. It's I don't know. Like, you know, if a kid is putting their plates in the sink and a parent is still feeding their kid, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying exactly, but it's just like, so far for me, it's been the opposite. Like, my experience. Right. Well, yeah, it's like, in my experience, though, it's just been, teachers are resentful. Public school teachers are resentful. They really, a lot of them do see themselves as babysitters. I mean, dude, I'm looking at what I learned, what I'm teaching my kid right now, and what I remember from kindergarten, and it's like light speed compared to what I remember kindergarten being. And I don't think that the education of kindergarten has made any advancements, I'm guessing. I don't think that there's some major change that's happened in public schools in the past, like, you know, 35 years that makes it any better. But yeah, it's interesting because of like, I remember being in you know, going to public school first through fifth grade, and just, there were off kilter kids just all the time. It didn't matter that they were not homeschooled. They were just off. And so I think that association is completely misplaced. I think a lot of times what you end up with a homeschooled kid is that generally they are interacting more on an adult level. And when you're young and you get that from a kid, it seems weird. Like, here's one thing. This is the last I'll say of it, because I don't want to get anyone mad or anything like that. But like, I've always been very particular with people, with, like, my her grandparents and things like that they do not talk, that they talk to her as a person, not as a child. So that, because this thing happens when adults are around children where they start talking about them and not to them. You'll have two adults and two kids, and you'll have they'll be together. You'll be eating lunch together or something, and the two adults will ask questions about the kid to each other and have this whole conversation that the kid could have contributed to, but they won't allow them to, because there's a holdover from children should be seen and not heard. And so, like, that echo of the past is still present. And so the way that adults tend to interact with children is they treat them as like, shut up now, the adults are talking. And it's like, no, I'm constantly, like, with my kid, as soon as she could start talking, I mean, we were doing sign language and everything to get her communicating as quickly as possible. It is astonishing. If you do sign with a kid, they'll start signing at like 6 months old. We were able to like, she was talking about the dogs and about, like, just, the weather and all of this stuff. And they're 6 months old. And so you realize, like, for me, this is what changed everything. Because I realized, my God, there's something alive in her right now that is just not recognized until much later. And so it changed how I thought about how quickly I needed to be. Yeah, it's astonishing. Cause it's just like, it's trapped in there until they can start speaking. And that's much later. They can use their hands way earlier. But yeah, I don't have the benefit of a private school. Like, I can't do that. There's public charters here, thankfully. So there are options beyond just straight public. There's different charter systems here. So that's good. It's close to private, as you can get. But I do, the general fear that I have in throwing her into a public school is any advancements that she has where she's like, once again, ahead, is that statistically, and this is true of children that I know, that the statistics that I know with Montessori is if they're ahead, they get into a public school and it takes 2 years and then they slowly just reach the median of everybody else because of how the teaching is done. And so that's my struggle. That's my fear. Is like, I don't know, I'm going to have another kid. I'll do the same thing with them when they're younger. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, but, I mean, yeah. But that's just like it's funny. My concern is not about the socialization side, not whatsoever. It's about the education side. It has nothing to do with normalization, because that's what we're doing every single day with her. Yeah, no, I mean, the thing about whenever you put your child in the care of others is they always come back off kilter. They're always like, generally, I would say, you take them and you put them in someone else's care and they come back and they're like suddenly doing things. And you're like, whoa, what's that about? And there's a difference between if you're putting your kid in a private school, then I'm sure their daycare they're going into is really good, especially if they're signing and stuff. But if it's the kind of daycare where it's like your kid comes home and he's got something taped to his shirt that says like, I had a boo-boo and this is why my arm is bruised. Then it's like, okay, well, maybe that's not the best daycare to put your kid into. And then like yeah. Or your kid, comes back from school and they're violent and it's just like they've never been like that, and it's like, okay, that's happening at school and it's not being addressed. And yeah, I think frankly, I'm gonna get all political. The number of school shootings that we have in the U.S., the fact that it's happening at schools, public schools, I would rather have a weird homeschooled kid than, yeah. But we're raising very disturbed children in public schools. And the thing is, blame the parents, you know. And it's like, well, the parents don't have their kids for you know, there's a long amount of time that the schools have the children. So what percentage of the child's awake time should be blamed for them when they do something awful like that? It's hard. I don't know. I got super political, but I'm not saying anything specific. It's tough, though. Yeah, I'll see in a minute. I just don't know, man. I don't know what to do about that. Anyways, that was a weird diatribe I went off on. I'm 46 minutes in. I have done nothing. But, I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot of, like, rewriting code and stuff like that. It's funny. It's funny. Yeah, gotta have your kid go to public school so they're normal. If something goes wrong in the public school, it's the parents' fault. Can't have it both ways. That's the kind of thing. That's where I have a problem with that proposition personally. Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is, like, I know you're not here. I'm just going to talk to myself. But the other thing too is, like, you get two kids that are homeschooled and they can totally interact with each other on the same bounds and same levels. Yeah. That, and there's just, you know, there's a growing amount of nonsense that are, instead of actually teaching your kid anything, there's a lot of junk. Growing junk in education. And the number, I can't tell you how many cousins I know that just, like, been left behind. Always blame the parents when they get left behind. It's always the parents' fault when they get left behind. The system doesn't allow for kids to catch up. Not without a lot of money that most parents wouldn't have in the first place. But the idea that you place kids in buckets based on their age, and then the entire curriculum's, you know, well, they're this age, so they should completely understand algebra now. And if they don't, then they're falling behind. No, that's not how this works. That's not how I learned this. What, am I behind? I'm just going on a rant now. Am I behind in my learning on programming right now? Matt's going on a public education rant. Yeah, no, they don't. They don't. Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, it's funny because I've spent a lot of my own personal time and stuff, you know, 6 months to get certified, you know, probably $10,000 spent, $4,000, $6,000 on materials. And every night I'm still working on curriculum and stuff like that. And all I think is, like, it just breaks my heart because, like, this method really works. It's amazing. It's astonishing. It's very, like, frictionless. Okay, so this is why I had all that code there. Okay, so because of this the weirdness that can happen with so we're popping because, oh man, I'm thinking about rewriting some stuff here. Quite a lot of stuff. Because yeah, I need to be able to apply forces to the player. I mean, it'll pay dividends too, because I have all the materials now, and everything that I work on curriculum wise, I can use with the other child as well. Yeah, and I really believe in this method, and I think it's amazing. And it breaks my heart that it's sort of locked away to super yuppie parents, like that only the super well-to-do parents can afford to put their kids in schools that would be able to do this. No flexibility in public schools with standard testing. Very little flexibility. Curriculum is almost determined on a national level. I mean, pretty soon, and it's really like public school curriculum is determined by the book publishers. School boards that's the other thing. You have a problem with your kid and a particular teacher or whatever. Well, this is your address. This is the teacher they get because this is how old they are. And it's like, okay, so, you need to get active and go to the school board. And it's like, well, what? I don't have time for that. Like, yeah. No, the structure's, to me, the structure's all just out of whack. And it's funny, yeah, because when you put your kid in a private school, the private school's like, hey, you got responsibilities here. This is what you need to be doing for your kid to be in this thing. And I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of, and part of my scars with it might be because of, being in the state I was in and stuff. So what happens when I pop out? I can't pop out. So we do need some. So that was game. All right. It's because we're dealing with player inputs. So we do have to have all these checks. Let's put them back. All right. Come on. Yeah. No, and I'm still not. And part of like what I'm thinking about doing, because curriculum is one of the harder issues with it. And I see no reason why curriculum isn't open source, public domain. Why are we paying, not to go on a rant again, but if we're paying schools if the payment of property tax goes to the funding of public education, and that money goes to purchasing of books, the demand outright should be that those books are in the public domain, that all of the materials and all of it are in the public domain. It is a public good. The education of a child should be a public good. It should not be something that is wrapped behind a building and all this other stuff. It should be in the public domain. If your child wants to learn 11th grade material in the 8th grade, then they should be able to go online and get it right then and there and start doing it. That's what I say. It's all locked away. It's a cartel. It's a cartel. Install on quit. We don't want to install that right now. Sorry, I'm just sort of like looking around. I'm just thinking about things on the game. I'm like wrapping my brain. It's kind of good to talk about something else. Yeah. Let me show you a picture of my kid. Well, here. You know what? I'll just AirPlay it. Well, I mean, it's the problem with anything where you regulate with government. This is what happens. You create monopoly. It's through regulations that monopolies are created. So you regulate the book publishers and all that. You know, they get it in, and it's like, okay, well, we publish for the Western United States. Mick Riley or whatever the name of the, I don't even know, but, and so it's just like, but I mean, you know, like, was it one of the European countries, they were doing something that was paid for with public taxes, and they're like, why would we lock this information up? And they just made it open source. Even if other people in other countries get it, it's like, well, this was paid for by the public, so this should be public information. There's no reason why we shouldn't make this available to everybody in the public. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is, one of the ideas that I had was to start working on a version, so to use the RSS spec to create a syndicated version of curriculum where you've got all these mommy bloggers and things like that that are producing all these like materials and stuff like that, but it's all disparate all over the place. And if you had a syndicated format where you could subscribe to whatever method of teaching you're trying to do with your kid or something like that, and then you could just see this information come down. But everyone wants it to be theirs. The information should be mine. So yeah, when I'm doing this stuff with my kid, I'm challenging myself to pull from the public space, either Creative Commons or whatever, to present materials that would meet that requirement. It's not hard. It just takes a little bit of work. But I mean, that's the thing about teachers in public schools is like, a teacher writes a curriculum for a class and they know for the next 10 years they only have to modify it a little bit and they're done. And in a year, a new teacher could have all of their curriculum written for every single year after that and just coast. So part of it is like, you want a good teacher. You don't want one who's just going to coast on work they did when they were, a decade before, when they were a new teacher. You'd want them to constantly update, and you'd hope that the school has some measures in place to make sure that's happening. But then again, you also say, well, if the curriculum's perfect, then why do I need to change anything? In which case, put it in the public domain. If a teacher's tenured, all of their work goes in the public domain. All of their curriculum, everything goes in the public domain. They're tenured. What does it matter? Publish it. Sorry. But yeah, I just realized that's the source of the problem with homeschooling. The majority of the majority of my struggle is the creation of new curriculum. Yeah. Man, you're making me want to just stop making this game right now and start working on that. Yeah, I haven't even vocalized that thought, but it just occurred to me when I was talking. But yeah, how much of this stuff should just be out there? There's these books. I bought a set of them. They don't even publish them anymore. They're called Childcraft. And there's these great, like, sort of sociology encyclopedia books. Been around since the 1800s. World Book publishes them. Yeah, this is the set that I have. Here's ones from the 60s. But these are great little books. And she's totally digging them. Yeah, this is 54. These are the ones I think most people know. That would be our age. Somebody's missing 7. Somebody stole their 7. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think about, I don't know, man. My kid gets 30 minutes of TV a day. Go into other people's houses, their TV's on 24/7. If my kid's weird because of that, so be it. You know, barely. I mean, the only time she plays video games is with us, and that's the most. She gets 45 minutes a day. She doesn't, and sometimes she doesn't even do it. And the rest of the time we're outside, we're doing class inside. Yeah. Well, hang on a second. Let me just show you the classroom. Let me see if I can find some photos here. I think I can AirPlay this onto the stream. Let's see. AirPlay. How do I? And that's the thing is, like, we're actually pretty low. We don't have a lot of money. If I'm totally honest. We just sort of cashed out at the right time. How do I send it to... Come on, Mac. Come on, man! I can't just put a picture on my Mac screen. You can make me go on a rant about technology now. You know what I'll do? I'll send it to you. I'll send... Man, this really... Here we go. So let me show you this. I'm really proud of this. So it's all phonetic spelling. And, edit. How do I rotate? Yeah, she just turned 4. Is this gonna work? No. Jeez. How do I... Here's what I'll do. This is all dead air. I'm not even gonna stream. Here we go. I put it in iMessage, but I'm gonna put it up on the screen. So the focus in the early writing with what I'm doing, there's no focus on spelling. It's all on just getting the phonetics right. So this is, but you're seeing this already. So yeah, this is all her. We got some pictures of some different animals here, and then she's trying to write out the sounds basically. And yeah, 4 and 3 months, 4 and 2 months she was doing this. So super cool. Really excited about it. I'm really proud of her. I'll send, you know what? I'll do it in iMessage. I'll send you some stuff in iMessage, more things. But yeah, we're at night. She's staying, you know, I'm read to her like an hour at night. And then, we have like a lights out book and I read to her and she stays awake, looks at the words on the page, and she's really keen on the non-phonetic words, like the sight words. So she's starting to identify them, and a lot of the repeating words are non-phonetic. And so she's pointing to those and going, he, and the, and so some of it's just coming automatically. Children just need a chance to learn a lot of it. But God, man, I was so into programming when I was in high school. If they had just let me go, and if it was just like, hey, this instructor knows about programming, he's just gonna like try to integrate math into what you're doing, so that you stay up on that stuff. You know, you're going to need to spell your variables correctly, you know, stuff like that. So I'm still working on English, whatever, and like read these books and just go. Like, let's not hold you back. That would have been lots of good fun, because that's all I did when I got out of school. That's the funny thing about a teenager too, is you can't tell them what to do. So if they're not going to listen to you anyways, then take that rebellious instinct and point it in the direction of learning. All right. Pre-calc. Yeah, unfortunately, math is the one thing that schools have fantastically destroyed. And they're slowly doing it to the other disciplines. But it's like, how can you take all of the fun out of this beautiful thing that's all logic and you know, take it all out and make it the worst possible way to learn the subject? Wow. Okay, so we're back to that. Yeah, I don't have any steam right now. I can't do anything. My brain is just like... I'm excited about that game idea, though. See, part of what I'm thinking about right now is like, okay, how do we get to playable as quick? But yeah, the math stuff is beautiful with this. It's so cool. Like, it's so brilliant. See, this is interesting. If we were to put a teleport here, that would completely break this guy. if he was something that could be teleported. Yeah, the last thing I'll say about public education is, I mean, I know there's preschool, but it is fascinating to me that school children are put into public education right after their brain has done all of its neurological development. It seems like if you were going to require people to put their kids in public school, that, and it was for the good of the child, you know, air quotes, that it would be during the most important and critical brain development period of their life, which is when they're between 3 and 6. And that early development was treated with the utmost care, because the connections that they make in their brain then are permanent, and all learning after that gets difficult. It takes more work. Oh, cool. Yeah, I would suggest just playing it. Maybe you should play it on a stream sometime. Because it's kind of ass hard at first, but you like learn certain things about it and it gets easier. The first Mega Man game is the hardest one if you're going to the NES era. The second one is significantly easier. Like the first one, you actually need to look up how to cheese certain things. And the third one, in my opinion, of the NES era, the third Mega Man game is the best. It's the formula is exactly where it needs to be. It's like at its peak. The stuff they did with like Rush, when they started adding, I don't know, like I never understood Rush. There was no indication with Rush where you should be putting him down. I think there needed to be more of a hint with that. God, I kind of want to just start doing that right now. Darren would kill me though. What the third one? I think it's just the original NES games. It's all just Mega Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it goes to 7. 6 or 7 on the NES. And then 8 or 9 is on SNES. And then there's a PS1 Mega Man game. And then the latest one just recently came out. Mega Man 3, yeah. That's when the dash mechanic was added, which was like desperately needed. That really changed. That made it so that the moment-to-moment gameplay was really dynamic, especially when there's certain enemies on the screen. So the game got really interesting with that, because once you got the dash down, then you could start dodging. They started doing a lot of like vertical attacks, and that's when the dash came really handy, because you could like avoid dropping bullets or things that were raining down on you. And then with the bosses, like the combat and the bosses got to be just this wonderful thing to do, because you know they jump in the air and you dash under them and stuff like that. So it was like that. It's just really interesting to look at the development of something like that and see that happening. So there's some glitches with the I mean, so this right here fixes that issue. So this is at least a fix. But I am not happy with nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows the sorrow. This should fix the speed thing, right? So if we go the other way. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So that fixes that issue. So we'll at least say that I did a bug fix today, besides my giant rant. Conveyor. Good God. He cannot spell. That was the other funny thing that I realized once I started teaching my kid. I was like, wait a minute. It just occurred to me when I started doing that. I'm like, I'm still the same person. And well, I mean, that's where I learned to spell. But I'm still the same person. It doesn't make me an expert at anything. And it's funny, like, just the realization that, like, well, I mean, what I'll say is I know when I'm spelling something wrong. I don't know how to get there, though. How not to spell, yeah. So much talking. Man, that's the other thing. You just, like, if it would just be less talking, if the teachers would talk less and it was just like, hey, just read, like, study this on your own, just study it. More like college. Especially in high school, if high school was a lot more like college when I was that age, that would have been so much better. Because it's like, man, I'm hormonal and I didn't eat enough for lunch and I'm tired. And can I just do this when I'm like, please just leave me alone. It's funny, my learning got a lot better in high school once I decided just not to care. And then suddenly I was just free and I was like, okay, now I can just like pick what I'm interested in and start looking into it. Not that it did much for me. I would say, yeah, I mean, for the other thing is for sure that a child support system is probably the most important thing beyond what their education is. And yeah, you know, your teacher can be a part of that for sure. Oh, that's interesting. It just needs to be a force that's applied to the player. Let's ask ourselves a question. Why can't this just be a force that is applied to the player? And why, when we change that proposition, does everything go bonkers? Now, I will say mod direction is probably the most important thing here. What we need to determine primarily for the behavior that I'm looking for. Let's just start making that Mega Man game. Let's talk to Felipe. Let's get you in on it. Let's talk to Darren. No. We must finish and see things through. Yeah, my brain is just really fried today. Do you know anything about water pumps? Let's just turn this into a home improvement talk right now. Do you have any experience with water pumps? Just out of curiosity. Where we live, we have the public water system, so we have the water that goes into the house, the clean water, you could say, and then we have irrigation as a benefit to living around the farming community. We have irrigated water, kind of like aqueducts, below ground. I don't know what you call it, just underground water. And we've got a creek that runs through our yard. That creek water is dedicated towards the farmers. It goes out to the crops and everything like that. They do it with it as they please. They pay for that water. But then the city itself has channels of water that go onto everyone's property that is the same source of water. It's all dammed water. It's just water they turn on during the hotter times of the year, during spring and everything. And then shut it down once winter comes. Anyways, got a water pump. It's outside. It's connected to that source of water. So I've got two problems that I think I've identified. One is it will lose pressure. And I've determined that, or sometimes it doesn't have a lot of pressure, and I finally figured out what the hell's going on with it. So I have an anti-siphon, for the intake so that the water doesn't leave. So what I realized was that the intake would choke if I didn't give it enough space in the pool of water. Like it would be flush against these two corners, and it would actually choke the intake because it wouldn't be able to pool enough water in, because like basically half of it was blocked off. So I figured that out. But sometimes the pump will lose the anti-siphon. Like it's really weird, and I keep thinking it's the threading of the pipes. I'm using PVC. The pipes are connected to metal inlet, and I'm thinking there's probably a right way to connect metal piping to PVC that I'm not doing correct. So that's one thing I just don't know about. How to take metal pipes and transition them to PVC. Which I think might solve some of the problems that I'm having. But okay, so what'll happen is like sometimes the water won't stay in the pump, and that's when you turn it on and nothing will happen because there's no water to pump in the first place. So like that's when if I pour water in to like prime the pump again, it'll just disappear, and it's like, oh, it must be the anti-siphon that it's broken and that the water is leaving that way. And I open it up. I have a little shaft that I can like open, and then that I can disconnect the piping for that part, and the water is there still. So it's like leaving the pump, but I can detect no leaks whatsoever. It's like a magician's trick. The water is just leaving the pump as if by magic, because if I check the line down to where the water is coming up from, it's still there. So like it's just sort of disappearing, and I have no idea why. And that problem I've determined is why if I run the pump long enough, when that starts happening, the water pressure will just slowly go away. And then I have to turn the water off, reprime it, turn it back on, and it's fine. But it's an outside pump. It's an outdoor pump. I forget what the PSI is on it. But the intake is larger than a 3/4 hose line. So in my opinion, it should be more than enough to run a hose on it and then have the pressure that I would need. Because I'm always going like a funnel. The pipe is larger than what it ends up coming out of. So the intake's not choking. I know that when I look down there, it's always got water. There's no like lack of water in the stream or anything like that. But yeah, it's just just one of those problems I'm dealing with. This is who the hell would watch this stream right now? Oh man. Yeah. I mean, you just need to move the water, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a piece of junk, if it has all kinds of problems or whatever. I understand that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think it might be a dummy. Like I got a bad one. Because I've always had this problem with it slowly losing pressure. And I still can't figure it out. And I know that the water isn't leaving the intake. They're called trash pumps. Let me look this up. Ah. Yeah, mine kind of looks like that. I mean, it's not gas powered. Yeah. No, I think the blades, that would screw up this one. What the water isn't clean. Maybe that's my problem. I've got a sock on it. Like a filter on the intake. But it's still like grime gets through it. Maybe I should get something like that. But I know the inside's clean. I don't know, man. And sometimes it sounds like there's a rock rattling around in there, but I know there isn't. And I think that's just air getting into the turbine. Or not air, but the spinning and everything is just hitting air. And so it sounds like... Maybe. I don't want to take that thing apart, though. I got it from Harbor Crate. Harbor... What's it called? Harbor Home Freight. Whatever it's called. Something. Let's start making the Mega Man game. Let's do it. Oh, I'm so burnt on this. Harbor Freight. That's it. Yeah. Super cheap. I mean, it comes with a schematic, so that's cool. Watch these people beating the crap out of each other. But did they go to public school? All these people just violent. Yeah. Well, it was like 120 something. Wasn't a lot. But I want to fix it. Because I don't want to pay. I don't want to. If I can get it to work, I'll do it. I'll do it, I swear. I swear. Let's see. Metal to PVC. How to transition from metal to PVC the right way. YouTube video. Now listen here. How much you... Oh, no, it's some nerd.
Particular transitions in front of me here. And to the untrained eye, you may think that, well, all of those look good, like a good way to go ahead and do that. But there's actually only one of those that's right. So we'll walk you through the whys, the hows, and all the details of which one of these is correct. So take a minute to look at them and all the details of which one of these is correct. So take a minute to look at them, and which one do you think is the correct way to make a transition from PVC to metal?
Hey, dude, how about you just tell me?
Or metal to PVC. And in this
Stop
case,
padding your video.
Poly pipe or hose or something with these barbed fittings. You've had plenty of time to look at these. This one is the correct one. So for everybody that picked that one, go ahead and have yourself a cup of coffee and kick back and enjoy the rest of this video. For everyone else, pay attention because you need to know this.
Dude.
So I'll talk about why these ones are wrong in just a second when I kind of go over the reason that this one is correct. So what we have here is this is just a barbed metal or barbed bronze fitting or brass fitting, and that doesn't matter whether I have a coupling here or a barbed fitting or an elbow or any other type of metal material or fitting. The important thing here is that we've actually got a coupling, and then this would be a glue. In this case, this is a socketed coupling or glued coupling, and then we have a Schedule 80 nipple, so it's socket by thread nipple, that works really well for this type of transition, and that's because the nipple is going to be a lot thicker all the way through, so that if you have this fitting buried underground and you get some settling that occurs, that's going to put a lot of stress on the joint, and a lot of times that stress is going to find the weakest part of the pipe and break it or cause a crack or something along those lines. So that's why this particular method works really well. Like I said, this is just a nipple you could buy, just like a standard thread by thread Schedule 80 nipple, cut that in half, and then you've got two potential opportunities to make a proper transition. So the plastic in these nipples is really good. It's the true Schedule 80, whereas like what we have on this one, and the reason this one's bad is we've got a male adapter that transitions, and the problem with these male adapters is, and I'll remove this stuff real quick here. Problem with the male adapters is the plastic right here at the base of the threads is just not as thick as all the way throughout just a standard Schedule 80 nipple. So it tends to be the shearing point. When you run into problems, that part right there just tends to shear right off. So that's the reason that this particular one is not a good idea. Now this one here, the reason that this is
hang on though.
The joint, and a lot of times that stress is going to find the weakest part of the pipe and break it or cause a crack or something.
Why is he going from?
It's going to be a lot thicker all the way through, so that if you have this fitting buried underground and you get some settling that occurs, that's going to put a lot of stress on the joint, and a lot of times that stress is going to
I get it.
Coupling or glued coupling, and then we have a Schedule 80 nipple, so it's socket by thread nipple.
Okay, so Schedule 80. That's what I'm looking for. Schedule 80. Then we. Okay. Then okay. All right. That's what I mean. All right. See that? Okay. Man, tutorial videos, man. I had an idea for a bot that would just download audio from YouTube videos and listen for the signature sound of the fire alarm beeping, and then automatically leave a comment on the video to change the batteries in their fire smoke detector. And if I wrote that and I saved one life, that would be dope. Just have it download the lowest quality audio and just scour the internet, all newly uploaded videos on YouTube, and be like, hey, you gotta check your smoke alarm. Because a lot of people produce videos on YouTube and nobody's watching them. But if a little bot was going out there saying, are you okay? Is your smoke alarm okay? Save a life. And link to a video that has an ad. Ha! That's how it pays for itself. Sorry. So you already started the Mega Man game, you say. You know, it's funny what you were working on, the stuff I was watching you working on. I was like, well, it's kind of basically a lot like it. I don't know. I feel like going like pixely art might be the way to go. Yeah, I just don't have any Steam right now. I can't do this. How long have I been going for? Hour and 34 minutes. I have nothing to show for it. All right, let's break this down. There's two things that we need to know that are important to do this correctly, or at least in a more logical way. Mod direction and last direction. And then we need player input. Okay. These are the days of our lives. What matters is player input. So that's what we care about. The question is if we're on an opposing axis. That is the question. So here's another question then. Why doesn't this work 100% of the time? I think we need to go like this. And then this is an else. So we go else. Okay, and then I think no. Good God. He must be stopped. Oh, yeah. Khrushchev. He must be stopped. Thanks, man. Sorry for going on a rant. Yeah, my brain is mush. I gotta stop anyways. I did nothing. Sorry for wasting your time. Yeah, there's a lot of little bugs. All little bugs with this. Have a good one. There we go. Bug solved. But we shall note that we are only going as fast as a conveyor. And This should fire the minute it allows the player to move the other way. It is. Here's the problem. All right, I'm going to end the stream. Sorry, this was a total waste of time. I didn't have a plan coming in. Didn't know what I was going to work on. I do think I need some different enemy types. I think we need some better ground situations.